Uh, Good morning. We started the central nervous system, and sir has taken the introduction part. So I tried the with the Medvis, but due to some inconveniences, again we are going back to upload the videos and then the interactive session. So now I'm going to start with the synapse. So synapse is the junction point from one neuron to the next. So it's a connection, okay? The connection between the two neurons is called the synapse. That means the main function of the central nervous system is the conduction of impulse. So the conduction of impulse from one neuron to another neuron, this occurs mainly through the synapse. So the synapse is the junction between that point between the two neurons. So it connects the two neurons. So next we'll see what is okay. So this is the structure of the synapse. Structure of the synapse, we mentioned that it's having already mentioned that it's having the presynaptic nerve, and then in the diagram you can see the presynaptic nerve, and then the synaptic cleft, and then the last part is the postsynaptic membrane or postsynaptic cell. So the presynaptic is formed by the axon of the neuron, and so that forms the presynaptic membrane, and then we have the synaptic cleft, and then the postsynaptic membrane. So this synaptic cleft is the space between these two membranes, and it has a width of 200 angstroms. And in the diagram you can see that the presynaptic cells or the presynaptic neuron, it's having so many synaptic vesicles. So these vesicles contains the neurotransmitters, and then you can see there are so many calcium receptors as well, and calcium channels which are present in the presynaptic membrane, and we have the receptors which are present on the postsynaptic membrane. So this is the structure of a typical synapse. Okay, so how the neurotransmitter will be released into the synaptic cleft. So the neurotransmitter, okay, the vesicles which are present in the presynaptic cell membrane. So here what will happen, first, when there is the stimulus or when there is an action potential is generated in the presynaptic membrane, so that travels through the presynaptic membrane, and due to depolarization there will be opening up of so many calcium channels. So the calcium channels opens up, calcium enters into the cell. So this calcium, so they goes on binds to the release sites which are present on the cell membrane of the presynaptic neuron. So these opens up the release sites, and when the release sites opens up, So the vesicles which contains the neurotransmitters will be uh, poured out through the release sites. So it will be released into the uh, uh, synaptic cleft. So this is the mechanism of the release of neurotransmitters. So when once there is release of the neurotransmitter, so we know that it goes on binds to the receptor proteins which are present on the postsynaptic membrane. So I explained that the receptor protein is having the two components. One is the binding component and the other one is the ionophore component. So the binding component is when these neurotransmitter comes and binds, so that is the binding component. So when once the neurotransmitter binds, so there will be ionophore component, so that there will be some conformational changes, or there will be some changes which brings about by the receptor. So what will happen, there are two types, that is one is by opening up of the channels, and the other one is by the activation of the second messenger system. So I explained in the last discussion part that when there is neurotransmitter is released, so it binds to the receptor proteins and there will be open up of some ion channels, so that may cause excitation or inhibition of the postsynaptic cell, or some receptor proteins, so they will be linked with the second messenger, example G protein coupled. So when the neurotransmitter binds to the receptor, so what will happen, the G protein linked receptors, okay, G protein is the protein which is linked with the receptors. So this G protein, okay, it's having the unit alpha, beta, gamma. So alpha is the active component, it is detached from this and is and it is freely transported or freely movable in the intracellular part, cytoplasm, and this acts in different ways. Okay, these different ways, one is by open up of channels, the other it may synthesize, there will be synthesis of so many enzymes, and the one more thing is it undergoes gene transcription as well. So there will be so many proteins will be formed, and these proteins will do the function. Okay, so this is how the mechanism occurs, that is how the action potential or the synaptic transmission occurs. So that is about the mechanism of the synaptic transmission. So now we'll see the classification of synapses according to the parts of the neurons involved, that means according to where the synapse is formed. So if the synapse is formed on the dendrites, it's called axodendritic. If the synapse is formed on the axon, it's called axonic. If the synapse is formed on soma of the postsynaptic, then it is called axosomatic. And few dendrite forms the synapse with the dendrite of the postsynaptic. So these are the different types of synapses. Out of this, mainly you will see axodendritic type of synapses. This is the diagram which shows the different type of synapses. You can see here the cell, okay, it's having the dendrite, soma and axon. So in the first there is a synapse with the soma, so it's called axosomatic. The second one is with the dendrite, is called axodendritic, and the last one is axonic synapse. So this is important topic, that is based on the nature of transmission. It's called chemical, electrical and conjoint. So chemical is by the release of chemical neurotransmitters. Electrical is by the channels, that is due to the gap junctions. Okay, sorry, not channels, it is by the gap junction. So there will be freely movable ions, so it's having direct connection with the other nerve cell. So that is about the electrical synapse. Conjoint means it is partly electrical and partly chemical. So out of this, in the central nervous system, most of them are chemical synapses. That means there will be release of a neurotransmitter, a chemical, so that brings about the transmission. So this is the diagram showing the differences between the electrical synapses and the chemical synapses. So rapid bidirectional transmission, that occurs in electrical synapses. So in the chemical synapse, it will be unidimensional. So this is because of gap junctions, electrical synapse, and this is because of the presynaptic synapse and then postsynaptic neurons, and there will be involvement of chemical transmitters in the chemical synapse. And here there will be ion current, that is ions can easily move into the other cells. So there will be ionic current, but here it is complex amplifying excitatory or inhibitory signals. So this is about some of the differences between electrical synapse and the chemical synapse. And this is one of the classification, that is according number of neurons involved. So 1 neuron to 1, so 1 to 1, that is one neuron forms only one synapse with other, so 1 to 1. So multiple neuron ending on a single neuron, many to 1, and one neuron may form synapse with multiple neurons, it's called 1 to many. And this is the diagram is showing the classifications of synapses based on the number of neurons involved. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so these are the properties of synapse. So before going to this, we'll see the excitatory post synaptic potential and inhibitory post synaptic potential. So excitatory post synaptic potential means, so if the synaptic transmission produces a potential that towards the positivity, that means lesser negative, so that is called excitatory post synaptic potential. Usually the resting membrane potential, usually we consider soma of the post synaptic neuron will be around -65 to -70. So when it goes nearly towards positive, okay, so nearly it will be around minus 10 to 20 millivolts towards positive. Okay, so that is called excitatory postsynaptic potential, and this is a local response because it cannot generate an action potential. So that is about excitatory postsynaptic potential. So the ionic basis of this is, so first what will happen in the presynaptic membrane, the action potential is generated, calcium enters into the cell, and then through the release sites the neurotransmitters are released to the synapse, and in the synapse the neurotransmitter goes and binds to the postsynaptic membrane. So this receptors makes the sodium channels to open up, or calcium channels. Then it may also cause closing of potassium channels. So what will happen, there may be so because sodium influx, so what will happen, so it goes towards the positive side. So this is called excitatory postsynaptic potential. This is what I explained. So you can see in the diagram, see the vesicles, okay, and then the transmission, okay. So this you can see in the diagram, so minus 70 millivolts, so there will be a rise towards the positive of around 10 to 20 millivolts, but it cannot fire, okay. So there won't be any action potential, won't be generated. So that's about the excitatory postsynaptic potential. Then you will see the inhibitory postsynaptic potential. It's opposite to excitatory. That means when there is a stimulus from the presynaptic to postsynaptic, so when the potential present in the postsynaptic, when it goes towards more negative, then it is called inhibitory postsynaptic potential. So inhibitory postsynaptic potential occurs mainly due to the closure of the anions like chloride channel, or open up of potassium channels, potassium efflux, and also decrease sodium and calcium influx. So all these causes more negativity inside the cell. So that's why it's called inhibitory postsynaptic potential. This also a local response. It also cannot generate an action potential. Sorry, it's also a local response. So this is about the inhibitory transmission. So okay, so this is the, you can see here towards the more negative side. So this about the few basic things about the synapse, and you should know the neurotransmitters, okay. So the substance must be present within the presynaptic neuron, and the substance must be released in response to presynaptic depolarization, and there must be calcium dependent. I already mentioned that the amount of neurotransmitter released depends on the amount of calcium influx. So the specific receptors for the substance must be present on the postsynaptic cell. Okay, so this is about few neurotransmitters. You can see the acetylcholine, okay. So that is one of the main neurotransmitter. This acetylcholine is also mainly involved in neuromuscular junction, and the amines dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, histamine, and excitatory glutamate and aspartate, whereas inhibitory neurotransmitters are glycine and gamma amino butyric acid, gases like nitric oxide and carbon monoxide, and polypeptides like substance P, vasopressin, oxytocin, and endothelin. So all these are the examples of neurotransmitters. So we left with the properties of synapse. So that I will discuss in the next class, but we'll discuss 2-3 properties of the synapse. That is, the first one is we can see okay, so we'll discuss 2-3 properties. So the properties of synapse. First property is synaptic delay. That is, when the impulse travels from presynaptic to postsynaptic, there is some time required for the transmission to the postsynaptic neuron. So that duration, that time is called synaptic delay. So from the presynaptic to postsynaptic neuron, there is a delay in the transmission. So that delay is called the synaptic delay, and it is of almost 0.5 milliseconds. And this is mainly due to the calcium influx in the presynaptic and release of neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitter goes on binds to the receptor proteins, and then there will be open of channels. So all these need some time. So this time we call it as the delay. It is the time required for the impulse to cross the synapse. And I mentioned that scientists, okay, depending upon, by knowing the synaptic delay, they can identify the number of neurons, number of synapses present in the neural pathway. So that is the one. And law of forward conduction, that is the synapse permit the conduction of impulses in only one direction, so from presynaptic to and postsynaptic, and that is mainly based that is mainly important for the orderly function of the neurons. And law of divergence and law of convergence. So axons of presynaptic neuron, they may divide into two. It can form synapses with many more than one neuron. So that is called law of divergence. So the information can be multiplied because of law of divergence. Whereas law of convergence, so that is many presynaptic neurons can form synapse with one a new postsynaptic neuron. So this is about today's class. The remaining properties I will make it in the next class. Okay, thank you.